do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right? But I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who can move, right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yards. You know, you get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown, right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable, right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But, you know, I do have hope for him. I think at season's end, he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low-end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust over, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Wicked Wednesday has begun. You know how we roll on the Wicked Wednesdays. We got a little bit of something for everybody on the program tonight. We got NBA talk, NHL talk, college basketball picks, Bermuda Championship golf picks with Brady Cannon and Cam Stewart, Paul Bovey in the house. Ian Cameron, a.k.a. Babano, will hit the Grey Cup. So we're gonna touch all the bases here tonight. Let's start off in the National Basketball Association right now. We had a wild one at the Garden tonight. The Bulls were up big. The Knicks went on like a 17-0 run. They cut the lead at the end of the third quarter, but when it's all said and done, the Bulls escape MSG with a 124-123 victory tonight at the Garden. Frustration starting to kick in Knick Nation a little bit early in the season right now, but it's what happens. I would say who saw this coming, but I saw this coming, and we told you. I didn't understand the deal for Karl Anthony Towns in the big picture, as far as depth is concerned. Like, okay, yeah, if you look at like the Knick roster and like the starting 5, it's super impressive. You look like after the starting 5, and you got real problems. We're talking about a 6-man rotation, and Thibodeau. The big problem with Thibodeau to begin with is he runs his players into the ground, even if he has depth. So now he doesn't. These guys are going to be, like, done by Christmas, all right? There's going to be injuries. They're going to be worn out. It's going to implode. I didn't like all the moves. Like, if you were the New York Knicks, the Knicks remind me, and actually I want to get to the picks, but I'll just say the Knicks remind me of the Philadelphia 76ers. When the Sixers nearly beat the Raptors, when Kawhi hit the shot, that was like a good Sixer team. Right? Like, they were knocking on the door, and hell, they nearly beat the Raptors. And I got to tell you, if it went to overtime, they probably would have won the game. Right? And they would have advanced and played the Milwaukee Bucks. Instead of the Toronto Raptors playing the Bucks, the Raptors beat the Bucks, and then they won the championship against the Warriors. But, like, remember Philadelphia had a really good team. They had Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, and, you know, there was like it was a good team. It was like, man, these guys are a load to deal with. And they were like, no, we're not going to keep Jimmy Butler. Or, you know, let's sign Tobias Harris. Let's give Tobias Harris the money. And, you know, Jimmy Butler's too much of this and that, and they changed the team. I sort of get the same thing with the Knicks. It's like, you guys are knocking on the door. You're pretty good with the nucleus that you have. You're giving up depth right now. Karl Anthony Towns is more of a stat guy. He'll go off for big numbers sometimes, but he's not really going to help you win games. And I like him personally, but it's just true. So, hey, it is what it is. Reap what you sow. 124-123 final score. Tonight at the Crypt, we've got the Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a pretty fun game tonight. And if you look, they've been pretty hot, actually, the Grizzlies. They're getting 7.5 points tonight in this game. I think the spread is a little bit high here. So it's a little bit high. Obviously, the Grizzlies aren't at full strength. Who is in the NBA? But I find the number to be a little bit too high. We got college football going on right now. 29-16 for Northern Illinois, which is brutal because we're laying 14 and they're up by 13 right now. But there is still 7 minutes left in the game. The plus side, the game has already gone over the number. Right, 43.5 I thought was far too light here. Meanwhile, though, we got problems with Eastern Michigan. We're getting 11.5 with Eastern Michigan. They're down by 18. They got the football right now. They need to score a touchdown. They're going to go for the 2, though, which is going to be a problem for us, even if they do score. We never take unders, but we took the under. We got the under. What do I have? I think I got an under even 48. Yeah, I got an under 448 here in Miami, Ohio, and Kent State. I didn't think that Kent State was going to be able to score. And Miami are laying 30.5 in this game. It's 34-7. So I didn't want to lay the points because I sort of thought it would be like this. Hopefully, Miami, Ohio just sort of kill the clock here. There's 5 minutes left. They might score again. They're at midfield right now, and Kent State are that bad, so they might pop a big run here. We got NHL hockey coming up here tonight. The LA Kings and the Colorado Avalanche. Man, I took the Kings the other night against the Calgary Flames on the road, and they lost. Now the Avalanche are minus 140 favorites. The Kings are plus 110. I'm often wrong with King games, and I'm often wrong with Avalanche games. Like, for people, if you pay attention, I don't bet a lot of Avalanche games. I have a heart. They're one of those teams. If I take them to win, they lose. If I take them to lose, they win. The LA Kings, I don't usually bet against them very often, but they do have a tendency to screw me whenever I do. Like the Kings could be on, the Kings could be like 12-3 in their last 15 games, and I can tell you I was on the 3 that they lost, right? So like the Kings, it's frustrating. I've been on the wrong side of a lot of Kings games over the last 2 years. But this is my gut. My gut says that the Colorado Avalanche are the play in this game. Minus 140, Colorado Avalanche. Vegas Golden Knights are big favorites. I really don't know what to do with this one. The Vegas Golden Knights are minus 240, right, against the Anaheim Ducks. It's a little bit pricey. The Ducks are plus 1.5, minus 135. This one we'll wait for the in game. Let them drop the puck. Hopefully, put it this way. Whoever scores first in this game will take the other team, essentially, right? Like, if the Vegas Golden Knights score early in this game, suddenly we're going to be getting like 2.5 with the Ducks. Right now it's 1.5, but if the Vegas score early, we're going to get 2.5 goals. Anytime you get 2.5 goals in an NHL game, you probably want to, you can get on it early, you take it. And or on the flip side, let's just say the Ducks score an early goal. Suddenly, the game is going to be like a pick'em. Like last night with Vancouver. Vancouver were like minus 230, minus 220, minus 230. They gave up an early goal. Suddenly it was minus 110. They ended up winning the game 3-1. It was the only goal of the game that they gave up. So we'll sort of keep our eye on this one in game. College basketball in the late night hours tonight. We're going to find something to jump in on, but we're talking about like the late night DGen specials. Queens are playing again. Queens, North Carolina, taking on BYU. They're getting 39.5 right now, but they're down by 31, and we're still a lot of time left in this game. So no marquee heavyweight matchups coming up in the late night hours tonight. College basketball, we got Weber State and Nevada. Nevada are laying 16.5. They've just tipped this game off. North Dakota State and Santa Clara. The Dons in Long Beach. If we want to say there's sort of a game of the night tonight, I guess that's kind of it. Long Beach and the San Francisco Dons. The Dons are up 6-0 right now, laying 17.5. I think the number's a little high, actually. If we're looking for some late night action, let's jump in on the beach, Snoop Dogg style, plus 17.5. UT Arlington are getting 16 against the USC Trojans. We've got time to cap that game. That game is coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Countdown to kickoff is on in the National Football League. We'll break down the Thursday nighter, and we obviously know how big of a football game it is. First place on the line in the NFC East, and the Washington Commanders, coming off the loss, are getting 3.5 points against the Philadelphia Eagle football team, whose defense has really, really, really come on since the bye week. Their defense has been dominant, and they held back last week against the Dallas Cowboys. They held Saquon Barkley back. It was frustrating for Saquon Barkley, touchdown scorer, prop players, and fantasy players last week with Saquon, but give credit to Nick Sirianni, which people actually don't do. They were thinking ahead to, you know what, we've got a big game on Thursday night. Let's not run Saquon into the ground in a football game that we're drilling a Dallas Cowboy team and it can't score. A lot of stuff to unpack. Let's do this thing. Anthony Richardson's been named the starting quarterback again.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. We have a bunch of games going on in the late night hours, but nothing really sort of like sexy, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like I said, we got North Dakota State basketball and, you know, the NBA. There's always injuries in the National Basketball Association. We still have the MAC games going on right now. Ohio are putting the finishing touches on Eastern Michigan. You know what? If we got one more touchdown, we can get the over of this game. There's 3 minutes left. It's 35-10 right now for the Bobcats. 29-16, Northern Illinois. They're laying 14. They're up by 13. That game's already gone over the number, though. Barely, but it gets there. The total was 43.5. They're at 45 right now. And Miami, Ohio are up 34-7 on Kent State. They're not covering. They were laying 30.5 points. The total was 47.5, 48. I only bet the under, and I rarely bet unders, but we're close. There's only like 50 seconds left, but Kent State do have the football right now at midfield, and they're getting into Hail Mary territory right now. NHL hockey, as we discussed, we got some games getting ready to drop the puck. We just dropped the puck in the OC at the Pond. The Vegas Golden Knights, minus 210 right now over the Ducks, and the Kings and the Avs are coming up. Cam Stewart, what are your plays, Cam, for the LA Kings and the Colorado Avalanche game and the Vegas and Ducks game?
I like Vegas to rebound, Gabe. Oh, geez, I don't know. Sorry, that's me. Sorry about that.
All right, well, we've got an issue with Cam here.
Sorry, man. Anyway, whatever. I like the Vegas Golden Knights off the horrible loss to Carolina. I will wait for the game to start and take the over 5.5 in this game. The Leafs scored a clean goal. It was below the crossbar. They called it no goal. I don't get it. I got them plus 2.5, 1.5. This is very frustrating. And in the other game, Gabe, I'm on Utah, and Carolina's been really hot, even though they've been playing with fire a little bit. They should be able to take care of business. Colorado's been really hot, and they look very, very good. So I would go on the Avalanche tonight.
All right, we got Brady Cannon in the house. Good to see you, Brady.
Hey,
ready to rock tonight?
Wednesday to you, gentlemen. Yeah, absolutely. It's November. I mean, the equinox, right? I mean, college hoops, NBA. Like you said, nothing real sexy, but there's a lot of stuff going on, that's for sure. And we've got golf in less than 8 hours on the island of Bermuda. The international tour is the PGA Tour these days, from Japan to Cabo San Lucas to Bermuda.
Now. We got the other tournament
right.
literally in minutes, you know what I mean? So, and people don't understand, Gabe, this is the DP World Tour. It's the Tour Championship. This is their last big event. Fleetwood, Hatton, all these big guys are there. I don't think Rahm is there. Rory's the favorite at 4-1. This is a huge tournament, man. And last week, Brady, we got real close. Leader going into the fourth round, me and Carter, second, third. We've been all over it. Just couldn't get bust through the door. And Hatton almost came out of nowhere to win. He was at one point very big live, 30, and he finished in second. This guy's on fire. Ty Hatton's playing some of the best golf of his career.
You and I had it surrounded in Mexico, Cam. You had a couple of guys right there. In fact, you had Echeverria tied for the lead. I had Carson Young, who had the 54-hole lead, shoots a 65 on Sunday. 9 times out of 10, I'd take that. Austin Eckroat comes out of nowhere and shoots a 63. So, a couple runner-ups for Cam and I last week, Gabe.
This one for Gabe, DP World Tour, guys. It's going off because it's overseas right now. I have a couple picks, Gabe. I don't do crazy stuff, but this is what we do. We're going to take the Irish Bear, Shane Lowry, at 16-1, has played great at this track before. Matt Wallace, surprisingly, guys, Brady and Gabe, he's one of the hottest players in the world. Have you seen this guy's results lately? And second in this tournament last year. And you know me, did Brady coffee 2 Danes. I usually have 3 Danishes, but I have Rasmus Højgaard at 25-1. He's right in there before. Torbjorn Thunderbear Olesen at 28. And there's a guy, you guys might get confused because it's very difficult on your betting sites because he's got 3 names, but his name is Nicholas Norgard at 48-1. I had to take 2. Brady, I had him leading going into the final round. He was right there, and he always finishes 6th, 8th. He's got to find a way to close because this guy's a really good golfer. Those are my picks, Gabe.
Brady, you playing the DP tour at all here tonight?
No, I saved that for Cam. I am by no means an expert across the pond. I'll dabble in it. I'll dabble in it here and there. When we're not splitting time with football and it's just 100% PGA Tour for me, I'll take a shot here and there. Did hit Adrian Meronk at the Irish Open. I think it was last year. I've hit a couple, but no, not a week-to-week thing for me is the DP World Tour.
So you're in Vegas, Brady, and the Formula One race is coming up next weekend. I imagine that they've already started to take over the Strip, and I'm seeing some of these wild packages, man, that the casinos are offering for the race, and they clearly didn't learn any lessons from last year.
Right. I was thinking the same thing.
I thought they were oh, we're going to make it more affordable. It's that seems to be more expensive actually. But Can I offer you the $1 million Fontainebleau package here, Brady? $1 million.
Yeah, I'm already on the waiting list for that. I already threw my hat in that ring. No, geez, yeah, you're right. I mean, one thing I have to say is the city seems so much better this year than it was last year. I mean, it was like for 2 months, traffic was just absolutely a train wreck because they were trying to put the track together and everything going on. And I kept saying, have the faith. It's only going to get better because now they've done it once. Some of the things are in place. They know what they're doing now. It's only going to get better. It seems like it got real better real quick because we're not having as many traffic jams. It just seems so much smoother this year. But I didn't know they were still trying to peddle the $1 million stuff. I thought they left that in 2023 as well.
Yeah. You can there's a couple of packages for $1 million. There's one I'm seeing here right now. They'll pick you up wherever you are in the world on a private jet and fly you to Vegas, you and 5 people. So that's a pretty good one. You know what? You get $20,000 casino credit.
Cool.
$20,000 alcohol, food and beverage credit.
That'll last a minute.
Yeah, net jet.
$20,000.
This is a good package.
Pretty
I like
good.
this
It
stuff. At
is.
least
It
they're
really
giving you
is.
something. Like this is
But it's $1 million.
Can you go in with like 25
Come on,
people?
Morency.
I mean, that's
No, it's
that's
5
pretty
people.
cool.
5 people, Brady.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
so what's that? 200
$200
grand a piece?
It's a steal.
Easy deal.
There's another one where it's $1 million, but you get a $350,000 Aston Martin car included.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Quarterly, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. The Wicked Wednesday. Northern Illinois up by 13. They're not going to cover. They were laying 14 in the game. They're winning by 13. It's 29-16. Akron had the football as well on the Northern Illinois 32-yard line right now with under 2 minutes remaining. The Ohio Bobcats will cover against Eastern Michigan. And looks like the game's going to go under the number unless the Ohio somehow score. They're trying to kill the clock off, though. It's 35-10 with $1:49 left. Total was 51. So a touchdown would get us there. But like I said, it would take a miracle. And We rarely bet unders, but we bet the under of Miami-Kent State tonight. And we got a final, 34-7. The game stays under the number. Kent State covers 30.5-point underdogs tonight. Yeah, it's just too many points for Miami, Ohio to be laying in the game. All right, so Cam gave us some DP Tour picks. Let's get Brady's Bermuda Championship picks. How do you feel about the card this week, Brady? You like this tournament?
Yeah, well, it's one of those fall swing tournaments where you don't have all the star power, but I've been enjoying this fall swing. If you look at these fields, it's kind of like the same 40 guys that seem to be there contending week in and week out. Carson Young, Alex Smalley, Nate Lashley, Ben Griffin, Andrew Novak, kind of these guys that they're certainly not in the neighborhood of Justin Thomas and Scheffler and those guys, but they're the next tier down. They're the guys that fill up these fields in the off season, so to speak. And they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to
You're saying
get
this
a
is like a MAC.
exemption.
It's like a MAC football game, a midweek game.
Exactly. This is Northern Illinois versus Akron right here. Yeah. It happens to be on the island of Bermuda. So it's pretty cool. And I came really close last week. I've been close a couple times, through this fall swing. In fact, I hit Kevin Yu at the Sanderson Farms at 120 to 1. So, yeah, I feel good about the card again. I went with there's like a handful of favorites this week. There's literally like half a dozen guys that are all priced in the neighborhood of like 16 to 20 to 1. And one of them is Mackenzie Hughes, fellow Canadian there, you guys. And he's arguably the very best player in the field. He's won at one of my correlated courses, which is another seaside coastal short course where they'll be next week, the RSM Classic in Sea Island. Mackenzie Hughes has won that. He's also finished runner-up twice. The guy's done really well. Sony Open, YLA, Pebble Beach, he's done well on these short coastal designs. He's never played this tournament before, but I got to go with what's worked for him in the past. Got him at 18 to 1. And then I took Andrew Novak. The wind is going to blow like crazy here, guys. We're going to have anywhere from 15 to 40 mile an hour gusts all week long in Bermuda. So you are going to really have to be striping your ball. Errant shots are going to get just blistered by the wind. And Andrew Novak is absolutely a ball striker. You got to hit greens in regulation. You got to be hitting your irons flush. And Novak is one of those guys. Took him at 31 to 1. Just finished 16th a few weeks ago at the Zozo. And then I went with another Canadian who's also won on a short coastal track. That's Nick Taylor, a winner in 2020 at Pebble Beach. Guy's been playing pretty well this fall swing. Hasn't played a whole lot, but he's done well on a couple of events. He's done tremendous at the Sony Open, couple seventh place finishes there. So again, another guy. The theme this week, guys, is ball strikers who tend to play well on these coastal designs when the field is a little bit watered down. And another guy is Grayson Sigg. I've seen some people I really respect in the space that are on SIG this week. He's got an 11th place finish here at Bermuda. He won at Pebble Beach and finished runner-up as an amateur. So, and he lives at Sea Island. So he's very familiar with this type of golf. And then finally, we almost hit an 85 to 1 shot last week with Carson Young. The 85 to 1 shot this week is Cam's favorite, Nate Lashley. This guy's made an absolute career of doing well at coastal designs like this. The Puerto Rico Open at the Grand Reserve Golf Club, he's finished 3rd, 7th, and 8th over there. He's got a 5th at Pebble Beach, a 7th at the Sony. So I think this is the type of track where he can have success. That's my 5-pack for the week.
All right, we're coming up against the break, but quickly I'll ask you, two guys that catch my eye that are sort of on the higher. They're not long shots, but how come you didn't take a look at them? And that's Maverick McNeely and a player that you brought up in Ben Griffin, 21 to 1.
Well, I can get that on the other side. I was on Griffin last week, and he was in position to do really well coming into Sunday, and then he just threw up on himself on Sunday. McNeely we can touch on the other side, but I think they both, are very relevant players this week.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheeks? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. 29-16, Northern Illinois. Under a minute remaining right now. Akron with the football, so it looks like they're going to cover. So it doesn't really, I guess, technically matter what happens here. But they are on the 20-yard line right now with about 45 seconds left in the game. All right, we got Brady Cannon, Cam Stewart in the house. I just asked Brady about two players that are popular this week. Ben Griffin and Maverick McNeely, two dudes that are knocking on the door trying to get a PGA Tour win this year. Yet, Brady, the fact that Ben Griffin fell apart late last week turns you off a little bit. The fact that so many quote-unquote squares, such as myself, that see him on the screen like him. And Maverick McNeely, another one, and I'm not alone in Maverick McNeely. A lot of people like it. You were saying that in Vegas, he is one of the most biggest liabilities in some of the books, Maverick McNeely. But you were just talking about the wind and kind of having to drive the ball through this stuff, and that's not really McNeely's game. So is that why you don't like him this week?
Yeah, exactly. And both of these guys are really classy players, a couple of the classier players in this field. Like I said, I was on Griffin last week, and he had a shot. He almost got there, then he fell apart. I don't really want to go back to the well to, he became very popular because he showed up last week. Carson Young is the guy we were on last week when he's under the radar. Now everybody saw what he did, and everybody's on him this week. With the wind blowing the way it's going to blow, I need guys that really just pummel the golf ball. And Maverick McNeely is more of a touch player, more of a finesse player. He has a tremendous short game, one of the best putters in the world, one of the best scramblers in the world. Lives here in Vegas, so I'm sure he deals with some wind sometimes, but I want guys that are just known, that hang their hat on the ball striking metrics. That's really what does it for them in this game. And it's not necessarily the trait of Maverick McNeely. And then you look also, you talked about it, the liability at BetMGM, actually nationally at BetMGM. Maverick McNeely is one of the highest in ticket count, one of the highest in handle, and one of the highest in liability. And that's usually a red flag for me. I mean, these books don't lose when they're taking so much action typically on these guys. You know how it works. You want guys that they don't mind if they win, and that works out pretty well for the books more often than not, it seems.
Interesting that you say that. I saw a report today that both FanDuel and DraftKings have lowered their expectations as far as revenue because NFL bettors have been winning more than usual, Brady, which I find interesting.
Been a big year for the public, for sure.
Yeah, so and it's catching up to them a little bit. They actually told shareholders, on a call, that bettors have been winning a lot more than they usually do. So hang in there. I'm sure they also told them off the record, don't worry, they'll go on a cold streak. Right. As soon as the call was over, it's like, hey, listen, don't worry. These guys can't stay hot. Like, they'll lose.
They'll blow it all on the Super Bowl, guys. Just hang out till February. We'll be fine.
Like owning Mahoney. He's out there. Mahoney's taking down Atlantic City. Guy, talk to me at 4 a.m. He lost that, right? You know what I mean? The guy was up 4 million. It's all gone. Guy's like, yeah, he's been a pit boss a while. He knows. You're right, Gabe.
Yeah, I know there was some
Yeah.
books, around the country or what have you, and maybe beyond, that had like their worst October as far as football in a long, long time. And you kind of saw it reflected in Circus Survivor when it started off and it was so volatile, and you had all these wild underdogs coming through, and then all of a sudden it stopped. The month of October was nothing but chalk. So I think October was where some of these books got beaten up pretty good.
Brady, think about all the people that just faded New Orleans and Carolina off the cuff, and I'm guilty. I took Tennessee too many times. Like, if you just play that system, you're loaded. Like, you're winning tons of money, and a lot of people do that, right? So
what do you think? Gabe? What do you think this week of the games? You got the Commanders are plus 3.5 tomorrow. It's already Thursday Night Football tomorrow. The totals come down a little bit. It's 48.5. It was 49. Big divisional tilt with the Ravens and Steelers. And I tell you, this is one of those games from everyone I see talking, and and this and that and reading. Everyone likes Baltimore, which is sort of a red flag. You were just talking about golfers, sort of like everyone loved the Rams the other night, and I knew it was a trap that I was walking right into. But you got the Ravens laying 3 in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson and the Steelers haven't lost since he's taken over. The big Bills and Chiefs game, numbers been bouncing around 2.5 all week. Niners and Seahawks. Big game for both football teams in that division, 6.5. What do you think about the card this week, Brady? What catches your eye? And we should know, too, Anthony Richardson will be starting for the Colts again. They're getting 4 against the Jets. Man, they just keep making the Jets favorites every week, man. What are your thoughts,
Well,
Brady,
what's interesting is the Colts are taking the bulk of the action in that game. So it looks like a public dog situation there on the Indianapolis Colts. It might be a situation where I'm betting the New York Jets. Hold my nose. I don't know if I can get there, but it looks right now that it's setting up that it would be a
It's one of those games you bet and don't watch. You're like, I'm going to bet it, but I'm not going to watch. I can't watch.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Steelers and the Ravens, I don't think I'll get involved in that game. I think it's too close to call. I did make the Steelers, I made the Ravens a 1.5 point favorite. So I think 3 is too many, but you know how those games go. They're always coin flip games. I don't know if I'll be involved. The Bills, I made a 1.5 point favorite. So, you're getting a little bit of value with the Chiefs at 2 or 2.5, but I have a feeling the Bills are going to win that game. I think the public's going to be all over Kansas City because when Patrick Mahomes is an underdog and the Sharps alike, I think the bulk of the action will be on Kansas City and the house will need the Buffalo Bills. As far as Thursday night, this is one of my favorite games. I typically don't get involved in Thursday night games, but I really like the Commanders plus the 3.5 here, guys. And I've made a lot of money on the Commanders this season, betting on or against them. And I think it's 5-1 is my record betting on or against the Commanders. And what I do is I bet against them the week before they have a division game. Dan Quinn does not have a good track record in the week before a division game. Now, flip to the following week when he's in a division game, he is absolute money. And I think that has worked every week this year, except for that game when they played the Chicago Bears and had that really weird, fluky ending with the Hail Mary. But once again, a game before a division game last week, they did not win or cover against the Steelers. Here, a division game, I'm on them, 3 in the hook. I made the number, the Eagles, 2.5. I think the Eagles are probably about 1 point better. Maybe you could say 1.5 points better. That still doesn't get you all the way to 3.5 when you add the home field advantage here. And I talk about this division prowess that Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have. You go all the way back to Seattle when Quinn was an assistant with them, and then he got hired by the Falcons. What did he do against his former division, the NFC West? 4-1 against the spread as a coach of the Falcons. After the Falcons, he went to the Dallas Cowboys as their defensive coordinator. What did he do against his former division, the NFC South? 5-0 against the spread.
Mm-hmm.
Now he comes from the NFC East as a coordinator, stays with the NFC East in the role of head coach, already 2-0 against the division this season. And oh, by the way, Kingsbury, when he was head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, 7-0 against the NFC East division. These two guys are monsters against the NFC East. So any division game with Quinn and Kingsbury, I'm on it.
I'm going to call it that Kingsbury is going to be the next coach of the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
That's my that's
He's
my
got
prediction
a good
here
thing
right
going.
now.
I don't think he's leaving anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Everybody
now's
wants
the
that
time to
race.
strike. Now is the time to strike because he's going to be hot.
I'll
put it this way.
Fits, right?
Well, he was at USC with Caleb Williams. And in fact, he wasn't the offensive coordinator, but he was the offensive consultant. And his job was to basically just hang with Caleb Williams and make Caleb Williams better. And like they're tight. So I would call that out. Hang in here. We'll get you out in a minute, Brady. I want to get to a funny video that I saw that I think you'll like. It's golf related. Then we'll bring Paul Bovey in. So we got a best of X on the other side that we'll get to. We'll get you caught up to date with what's going on in the National Basketball Association. But the Lakers are up 12 early on a Morant-less Memphis Grizzlies.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? Because I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, the pistol players, the hustlers, the people to bust them, and everybody else in between. All right, we got Brady Cam. We're going to bring Paul Bovey in a moment here. I look forward to Paul's picks of the week. But here was a funny video that I saw earlier in the day. Let's roll the best of X. Let's go. Here's Caitlin Clark teeing off.
Jesus.
Beamer. Oh, that was
You hear
awesome.
a guy, too, he's like, oh, Jesus, F. He's like,
yeah.
Like she smokes the ball, it just goes right over.
That
like,
came in hot.
Yeah, look,
she immediately went to re-tee it. You know, she
she had no concern.
Immediately,
she busted out another ball and just dropped another one down like
Yeah.
she knew she was going to do it. You know what? She could have warned people. Hey, by the way, I'm not really sure where this ball's going to go.
And those people were lined up, you know, like
He's
a
a
shoot like that.
WNBA player, Brady. Like, I've seen pros almost nail guys down a pipe. Like, what are you doing? Like, you get away. Come on, Gabe. Like,
show it one more time. It's too good the way it looped right at people.
Oh, dude, like
you can roll it one more time. You hear a guy in a video who's like, Jesus. And he sort of stopped himself. Roll it, get it going here again. I want to see it one more time. It would have been better if you would have blown it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily she didn't really steam it. Like there was time to duck. It was sort of like, it was like, oh, here it comes.
It was coming pretty quick.
But I've always thought that's crazy that people, even with pros, will all sit on their knees so low. They all crouch down like in this little, like, and I'm thinking, you know what?
How about they line up?
Even a pro can lose
down
one.
down that alley. I mean, it's like, gosh, if he misses by a foot, the guy might take his nose off. I mean, those guys are nuts.
Brady, my buddy he knew these guys at Glen Abbey. He golfed for Lawrence Taylor. He needed another caddy, and I got Chuck Cecil, the two biggest psychos in the league. We're sitting there playing golf. These guys are Gabe. Literally, Chuck Cecil hit a ball that almost like went through a guy's head. And I was saying, like, he's Chuck Cecil. He knocks out guys in the NFL. Like, why are you sitting so close? Like, these guys aren't pros. And that's the whole thing. Like, Gabe, you've seen it too in regular tournaments. Like, they hit some balls and like they can, like, you could die golf. My mom's old boyfriend lost his eye. He was having some beers on the tee off deck. The guy right in his eye. He has a glass eye. Like, people don't understand. Golf's dangerous, man. Really
and I'm
dangerous.
assuming too, you're on a golf course. You get hit by a golf ball, like you can't sue anybody. You're standing on a golf course.
No.
Right? Like, so, you know what I mean, like you knew what you were walking into. But you know what? At least Caitlin Clark, put it this way, she's not going to be the next Steph Curry. She doesn't have a career in golf.
I did though, Gabe. I did see her on Golf Channel. She actually smoked a few nights. Like, she actually, when she hits it straight, man, that chick's just talent in everything she does. She did a really good job.
She's into golf now. Like, she's been talking a lot about it. She's got the golf bug this year, so she's playing a lot. And yeah, she'll be good at it in a couple of years. We'll see her in one of these showdowns. Which, speaking of which, was coming up next month. Thanks, Brady. Always good.
Yeah, two more plays for you guys. I mentioned I like the Commanders. I also like the Raiders. Who are the Dolphins thinking laying 7-8 points to anybody? And then also the Chargers. Give me the Commanders, the Chargers, and the Raiders. And talk to you guys next Wednesday. Thanks as always.
Cool. A lot of people will be on the Bengals, Brady. Interesting pick.
Yep. Very
Chargers,
much so.
Sunday night football. Chargers defense has been unbelievable this year. This is going to be a test against that Bengal offense. There's Brady Cannon with us. Is Paul Bovey ready to go? And I believe Paul is.
Yeah,
and Paul's going with
ready to rumble.
You're going with the Richard Jefferson look. I see tonight. Shirt half done. That's the Richard Jefferson special. What's going on?
Richard Jefferson look.
What are you talking about? Yeah, it's all good, man. All good. I'm just checking. You know what? I could never understand why people would want to live on a golf course and have their whatever backyard right on the green or wherever.
You're so right,
because
Paul.
I'd always be having my head on a swivel looking for a golf ball to come my way. I just
you know
don't
how many windows?
it. I mean,
my buddy's loaded. His dad was a shrink, and they lived right on a golf course. Gabe in Aurora had like a really nice golf club. You know how many windows they went through? Like, what the hell? You guys, like, can you get some bulletproof windows? Like, smash! But they find also nice. They also found like 200 balls in the backyard, but it's not worth the price of the window.
Okay.
You ever lived on a golf course, Paul? I figured our boy Dave Malinsky lived on the golf course in Las Vegas. At the Las Vegas Country Club. He lived in the unit right beside where they filmed the De Niro house and all that in the movie Casino. Like, his backyard was basically where they landed the helicopter. And I asked him, I said, so do you golf? He goes, no, I've never golfed in my life. Like you said, he lived on the golf course there.
Yeah,
that
was going to be my answer.
He used to complain about it too, because I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool. It's pretty peaceful." He goes, "No, I got drunk golfers in my backyard all the time looking for golf balls." Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like you say, you get people playing. And I know my grandparents lived beside a very nice golf course, but they weren't members. So you could live next to a golf course. It was the Beaconsfield Golf Club.
Oh, nice. Great call, Gabe.
Yeah, they've had PGA there before. LPGA's been there. And I didn't really realize it as a kid. To me, it was just sort of like an open space, but they used to call the cops on us. Like, I got in trouble once, like I pissed them off a lot when I was a kid, that golf course. And we used to play tackle football on the golf course with our buddies. And they'd be, because it was just perfect soft grass, right? And we'd be chewing up the greens, and the marshal would come and call the cops all the time. And to me, it was just a golf course. As I got older, I realized that's actually a pretty expensive, nice golf course. But all the nice properties you've lived on, Paul, never a golf course along the way?
Never a golf course. Never golf. And no desire to either. So not on the bucket list. That's all I can say.
Jim Nance lives at Pebble Beach. That's where he lives. He actually lives on the golf course.
And he has a course that they play money games for. It's a par 3 with him, Peyton Manning, and all of his boys, right? They play
that's
like
pretty
he's
twisted.
Got a
The guy lives on a golf course, and he has a mini golf course in his own backyard.
He's got a par 3.
You're already on a golf course. Like, you don't need another. Like, you're on a golf course.
That's their betting hole game.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when she was here on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's roll. This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. We got Paul Bovey in the house with us, the Globetrotter, Paul Bovey. Where are you at tonight, Paul?
I'm back in Puerto Vallarta at a new apartment. So this is a first. This is a first. And so far, the internet's holding up. Back on the beach.
So far, so good?
Yeah, so far, so good.
Unlike the Knicks tonight, lost 124-123 to the Bulls, Paul.
You know, that was a heartbreak because we were down by like 14 points early, and I started mumbling, and then I saw we went up by a few points, and then we go below the game by a single digit. So the Knicks are exercising frustration now. I'm hoping it gets better. We need Mitchell Robinson there because Towns simply does not belong playing the five. He's not good at the rim. Uh, Teams have a conversion rate of like 95% at the rim when Towns is playing center position. So this is not a formula that's going to work long term. But maybe it'll grease the wheel a little bit, get him going till Mitchell comes back, and we can start to reach our potential.
The problem is Mitchell Robinson often gets injured, right?
Yeah,
That's, you know what I mean? So even when he comes back, it's hard to believe like that or have confidence that he's going to stay on the court. But let's get into the National Football League. And Paul sends me his picks right before he comes on. So I'm seeing these for the first time right now. And let's start off. I'm glad to see you got some action on my Buffalo Bills and against the Kansas City Chiefs. So talk to me about your action here. I kind of thought the total was a little light here. You got a pretty nice number here, Paul, at 45, like 20 cents. But talk to me about the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yeah, look, you look at the Bills, and I think we pinpointed the over last week. Caught a break. The Colts did score late, but let's be realistic. It was Joe Flacco, 26-35. So from a percentage standpoint, he was efficient. It's just that the 3 picks, Downs drops a pass at the goal line, a walk-in touchdown. I'm sure you saw it. So Indy just left points off the board throughout the game. And you look at this Buffalo team, they didn't stop Tua the week prior, 25-28, 250 plus, if you eliminate that last play of the game where there was a 24-yard loss. And also the 2 running backs, Shane and Mostert, ran right through him, and I pointed that out last week. And then this past week, you had chunk runs by Jonathan Taylor. He gets off 77 yards, then an 18-yarder, then an 8-yarder, and they really couldn't contain him on the ground. And the Bills have not been doing a great job on defense. Stroud went 28-38 for 330. Aaron Rodgers went for 300. We know what happened against Baltimore, 35-10 in that nationally televised game. They ran for almost 300 yards. So I don't really have a lot of confidence in this Bills defense. But I got to feel that both of these teams, the Chiefs and the Bills, will get into the 20s here. And I just thought the total at 45, 45.5. I did get some 45 elsewhere. But I did buy this total down because there's 2 numbers I tend to buy on totals, 45 and 51, just because I don't want to lose by the hook, and the 24-20 game is in play, 24-21 game is in play. So I landed there, and I also landed in a couple other spots, as I said to you.
You know what? If you look at past games between these two, they kind of generally, the last time they played was in the playoffs last year, and it was 27-24. Right, so not every game is just a pure out track meet, but I'd be really, really surprised, as Paul stated, if both these teams don't get into the 20s in this football game. And in fact, I think you're probably going to need 30 points to win this game. 27, I don't think 27 is quite enough. So I imagine both coaches are thinking we sort of have to get to 30 here. They play so much, so there is a familiarity to them. So it's really a coaching chess move, but guys, if you look, 27-24 last year in the playoffs. The regular season game last year in Kansas City, Buffalo won 20-17. The total was 49. The year before that, they played also in Kansas City in the regular season. Buffalo won 24-20. So the playoff game before that, it was 42-36. Buffalo beat them 38-20. And KC beat them 38-24. Like, these guys have played like 7 times, man, in the last like 5 years type of deal. But I like the over in this game. We'll see what else Paul likes on the other side. We'll get you caught today what's going on the ice and on the court.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Morency, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Hustlers, the people of Boston, and everybody else in between. We're into level 2. Ian Cameron will join us a little bit later on. Lakers are up 60-50 right now. 13.5-point favorites. No John Morant. T-Wolves getting all they can handle. The Blazers have been a scrappy home dog this year. They're getting 5.5 right now in-game in a tie game, 46-46 with the T-Wolves late in the first half. And the Kings are up 61-56 on the Phoenix Suns. Paul, you're a big NBA guy. I know you're waiting to get going here. I know you're waiting to get going here in the season to start betting, but have you started to jump in yet?
No, because there's too much action with football, and I try not to. I don't want to lose my focus. There's plenty of games, plenty of money to be made, and I think sometimes that's a mistake the handicappers or bettors make, is that they spread themselves out. And I've been doing great in football. My record on Vegas Insider is 32-16 against the spread. My yearly record against the spread is 69-45. I'm number one and number one. And my NFL record is 38-28. So I just prefer to stay in that sport, and then I'll eventually transition, as I always do, to the NBA when I have the time allotment. Time management is everything. So that's where I'm at right now.
All right, so you like the over in the Bills and the Chiefs game. Total's 46 right now. Paul got a nicer number earlier in the week at 45. Bills are currently laying 2. Speaking of the number 2, what's that noise? Whatever that is, can we stop it? There's like a. All right.
That's me. Sorry, I'm typing loud. Sorry, yeah, it's me.
Can we work on? Can we kill Cam's mic or something? Like do something like it's got to stop, or stop typing. So, Paul, what do you think of speaking of 2, the Denver Broncos are 2-point favorites in this football game, and even though they blew the lead last week, again they choked against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're still in the playoffs right now. They're actually hanging on to the last playoff spot. So, to me, this Sunday is kind of massive. You got the Bengals and the Chargers, which is a must-win game for the Bengals to get back in this. And if you're Denver, you can start to distance yourself. Like, this is a big-time swing. Like, if Denver wins and Cincinnati loses, Denver suddenly, potentially really could make the playoffs for real. do you buy in that the Denver Broncos bounce back after losing that heartbreaker to Kansas City?
I do, and they're a much better team than Atlanta. Atlanta is a fugazi. They scored 17 points against a team that had lost 7 games in a row, that had given up 23 points consecutively for those 7 games. And look, the Saints, their secondary's depleted. They traded Lattimore. Kamara was running through them. You have an offensive line in the Saints. They've used 10 different combinations this year, and Carr went off and put up big numbers. No receivers. They signed Scantling. He went off for over 100 yards, and I don't think Atlanta's a good football team. They don't get to the passer. Carr was clean for the first time this year, was not sacked, and they just give up too much on the ground. So you look at Denver, they played a great half of football against Baltimore, fell apart in the second half, played Kansas City to a virtual standstill, could have won the game with that field goal. Unfortunately, it was blocked, and they didn't get it. So I just think Denver bounces back. They're home. This is a game they should definitely win against a team that is highly overrated in the Atlanta Falcons.
Now, the rest of your picks I see here are college plays. Anything else in the National Football League you want to talk about before we move on to the college side of things? And I got to ask you about tomorrow night's game, if you have any thoughts on the Commanders and the Eagles tomorrow.
Well, I'm actually focusing in on who I'm going to take for Survivor, and I do like the Cleveland Browns. And I may have to really put myself out there. Yeah, I do like the Browns to beat the Saints.
It feels like one of those reverse. It's like a reverse psychology game, isn't it? Like it feels to me like the game. Remember when Jameis Winston started and they won, and then the next week they lost. They played poorly. They lost. They got their ass handed to them, and then sort of similar situation. You got the Saints last week. They win the football game. Doesn't mean that they're suddenly good again. It means that they won the football game last week against the flaky Falcon team. So you're buying into the reverse theory here. And you got Jameis Winston going back to New Orleans here.
Revenge.
Yeah, but certainly Cleveland has a much better defense. There is no question. And I think they can put the clamps on Carr. And unlike Atlanta, that couldn't get to him, Cleveland will get to Carr and force him into mistakes. And I don't care that Cleveland's on the road. They're a fairly rested team. And I think they should have success running the football, throwing the football, and this is a game they should win. So, I'm sitting here mulling over. I got 2 survivors left in circa $14.2 million or $6 million at stake out of 107. And I got to decide,
That's good
do I
have
use
2.
the Miami Dolphins?
Oh,
I have 2. Okay. So the Miami Dolphins are going to clearly be in play. And I heard Brady say that he did not like the Dolphins. This is a game they should certainly not lose. I mean, they win the game Monday night. They've got a relatively soft schedule coming up.
There's the Patriots next week, Paul, right? So exactly. They win this. They get the Patriots next week. Suddenly they're back in the playoff mix.
Yeah, and that throws a wrench into Survivor because, of course, you would want to reserve them for next week against the Patriots. But then who do you use for this week? So I think that Miami wins the game. Brady may be right. Maybe the spread at 8 is a little bit lofty. But there are some other games I'm looking at off the top of my head. I actually can't pull them out. But I do have some college plays. College has been great. College has been absolutely phenomenal. I had Rice last week at the good number of 10. And I like some games on the board. I think Kansas this week will beat
against BYU. Huh?
Yeah,
so
well,
you've got 4. It's 3
team.
right now. You've got 4, so you got a nice number. BYU's coming off the emotional Holy War comeback win. One for the ages, actually. Like, it really was one of those. I can't believe they came back and won games, and they did. But I get the feeling that BYU, they're grown men, so they're not the typical college kids. They've done a good job of moving on after these miracle wins this year, but you think they're ripe for an upset against Kansas, huh?
You know what? what I liked about Kansas, and I think it'll be a higher scoring game because Kansas has not stopped a lot of teams. I mean, they've given up a lot of yardage through the air. But I was really impressed with what they did against Iowa State last week. They fall behind 7-0, and if you were watching the game and you had Kansas, you're saying to yourself, "Oh God, I'm on the wrong side." They came back, stormed back, took a commanding lead, gave up some ground late, and closed out with a 45-36 win. But this is a team that lost a pair of games by 3, a pair of games by 4, and then against Kansas State, easily could have won the game, and they lose that one by 2. So maybe the breaks are going to go their way now. And if you remember BYU against Kansas State early in the year, they were very fortunate to come away with a 38-9 win. They were outplayed, but miraculously, turnovers and the like, they end up with a
I've
win.
never heard someone say a fortunate 38-9 win.
Look at the numbers.
They won by 29 points.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
We'll wrap up with Paul on the other side, and then we'll bring Babano in. We'll talk about Washington State, New Mexico, Arkansas State, Georgia State.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Welcome to the only show. Like I said last night, we're the only show we were talking with Rick Saratella that talks about the NFL draft and the odds on a weekly basis year-round. But we're probably the only show talking about Washington State and New Mexico right now. So before we bring Babano in, Paul's got 2 more college games that we want to hit here. Washington State, I'll tell you what, the Cougs are having a nice year this year. Like all the adversity, they got left behind. They didn't have a conference and all that. And they've only lost 1 football game, right? They're knocking on the door. And it's too bad that they lost because they really would be potentially that playoff team to get in. But they're knocking on the door here still. And they've only lost one game. Their offense is pretty prolific. I bet the over, Paul, last week on Saturday night. I got the game. It's on the KTLA-CW network, the Pac-2 football with Washington State and Oregon State. So I watch all these games on Saturday nights in the late night hours, and I bet on them. And I bet the over the game, and you saw even Utah State move the ball on them, bro. And we know the Lobos' offense is pretty good, so you're going with the over here, over 72 points. And one last thing I'll throw in. Washington State needs style points, too. Like, even their home announcers, everyone, like, they know. Like, they're ranked 17th or 18th, whatever it is. What's the updated number with them? But, like, they were talking about it. They said, this isn't right, or it's not cool to say this, but it's just reality that Washington State kind of need to beat up Utah State here. Like, if they want to be in a mix for a bigger bowl and all this, like, they always got to do a little bit more. So, they don't let up, Paul. Now, I just want to throw that in there. Like, even if they're up big in a football game, Washington State will still try to score late.
I had that game last week, and I got 21.5 live, and I went over, I think, 70 or something, and I got up in the morning, checked my account, and I'm like, how did this happen? And somehow
because Utah State scored with like 10 seconds left. We got to thank God they didn't quit those kids.
Yeah, I saw it, so it turned from a double.
That's how it got there. Trust me, I was sweating it out. It was like 2 in the morning, West Coast time. I felt like I was like, it's all dark. I'm sitting here. I'm like, I can't believe I got like $900 riding on this drive of Utah State that they need to score, and they did. They did. Like they went down the field and they did.
Yeah, they can score.
I have a new system. I don't sweat games anymore. I was sweating out the Vikings in Survivor, and I walked out of the house with 5 minutes to go. I says, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching any more of Sam Darnold trying to win a football game. And I left. And I just come back, check the score, and that's it. And I leave the sweating guys like you. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I try not to sweat, but I will turn the channel. But when there's an isolated game, last game of the night, it was one of those, like, it was such a roller coaster day. I needed to end with the win. All right, so we'll wrap it up with Arkansas State and Georgia State. You're looking at the over 58.5 here.
Well, I was going to say, New Mexico's only played 2 low-scoring games the whole year. 17-6 against Colorado State, I believe, and then last week 24-16 against San Diego State. But those were the outliers. They play very high-scoring games, and I had them against Utah State. I gave it out on the show, over 78. They got into the 90s, which I said they would, and they did. So this is another game that could get into the 90s. As far as Arkansas State, that's another team that has no defense. Georgia State has played every game and given up the opponent 30-plus points except for Chattanooga. So if that holds the form, and Arkansas State goes over 30, they have a decent quarterback in Rayner, and Arkansas State does what they've been doing all year, and that is having their secondary gashed. This is a game that should go over the 58.5. I did not get the best number. Circa opened this up at 55.5, and within an hour, by the time I got it here and was able to play it here, it was 58.5, 59. I make fair value on this at about 60, 61. This should go over the total.
Paul Bovey kicking it with us. All right, Paul, congratulations on the run. The Circus Survivor run, and you got two shots at this, so you're looking pretty good. You're standing good, but still a lot of football left. But it's amazing, man, what a volatile year. A lot of football left to get to the finish line, but good luck going into the weekend.
Okay, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
There's Paul Bovey with us. Great stuff with Paul Bovey, as always. Thanks to Paul for sharing his picks with us. We go from Paul Bovey to Ian Cameron, a.k.a. Babano. What's going on, Babano? How you doing tonight?
Yeah, good to be with you guys. It's a great weekend, Grey Cup. It's probably the best slate of NFL football we've seen all year. So it's a great weekend coming up.
Yeah, it's a lighter college Saturday, right? There's a million games, but you don't have there's only a few. You got Georgia, Tennessee. There's not that many like marquee matchups in college football this week. But the NFL, you like Babano said, you got the Bills and the Chiefs, the Steelers and the Ravens, the Commanders and the Eagles this week. Some big time games, and of course we got the Grey Cup in Vancouver. Let's start off there actually because there's been some movement in this line today, and quite a bit of it actually. So we talked about it settled in at 10.5 throughout the week. And today, suddenly, it went all the way down to 9. The total didn't move all week. It was 49.5, and the total started to move today. And the updated number right now, it's settled in at Winnipeg -9, over under 51. Now, this book doesn't pay me to say this, but I did play their odds boost. And earlier in the week, Bet365 had the total up, 49.5. And it was plus 100 instead of minus 110. So I figured, I like the over in this game, so I might as well take it. But they took it off the board now because you're getting plus 100 on a 49.5. Now they maxed you out at they maxed me out at $220 on the bet, but I'm glad I got it in at 49.5 because I still like the over 51. I wanted to take the Argos plus the 10.5, but I didn't think it would go back down to 9. What do you think of the line movement, Babano, here? It's been pretty volatile today.
Yeah, I got to believe that's someone with big money or a group moving that. I mean, why would the CFL Grey Cup move that much so quickly? You know, obviously a big handle did that.
Yeah, it was my $500 teaser moved it.
Exactly. Morency's moving lines in the CFL.
I was the big group. $500 teaser.
I will say that, though, $220 for a bonus is good. Sometimes they cut you at $100.
Yeah.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long. People,
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we would get
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Let's do this thing. So we're talking about the Grey Cup and the line movement down to 9 right now. Listen, it opened at 8. The bettors betted up to 10.5. It sat at 10.5 all week. And then, boom, today the total got moved from 49.5 to 51. And the point spread got bet down to 9 I think the total is going to keep on getting bet up, actually. I'd be surprised if it wasn't like 52 or something, 51.5, 52 by kickoff. Once the public starts to jump in on the game over the weekend, they're going to be betting on the over, I believe. Babano, there was an advanced number for the Grey Cup at FanDuel before the semifinal games. So before Chad Kelly's injury, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were 3.5-point favorites against the Argos. So now we're getting 9 with Nick Arbuckle. I think it's too much of an overreaction of the point spread, but Winnipeg have played great football. They've got a chip on their shoulder. Their offense has been much better over the last, 8 weeks. Their offense has come alive. Zach Collaros didn't look good earlier in the year. He does now. Lawler has come alive, Kenny Lawler. So what are your thoughts on the Grey Cup?
And it's a Winnipeg team that does not want to go to the Grey Cup for a third straight year and lose. Because obviously, look, they won the first 2, but they've lost the last 2. Toronto a couple of years ago when Chad Kelly off the bench replaced McLeod Bethel Thompson late in that game, and they came back and won. And then last year against Montreal in the thriller that I was right there in person for at Tim Hortons Field. It was a great Grey Cup last year with Winnipeg and Montreal, and Fajardo leads the comeback. So if they lose this, yes, it's their 5th Grey Cup. They're suddenly 2-3 in the 5 Grey Cups. They have a losing record during this 5-year run in the Grey Cup game. There's a big difference between 2-3 and losing your last 2 and 3-2. So this is pretty important to Winnipeg, and I get that sense. And certainly if Nick Arbuckle makes mistakes and throws interceptions, which has been his propensity in the past, they're in some big trouble. I think the key is, look, make this an easy game plan for Arbuckle. Run the football with Carey and Adeboboye. Make sure you commit to it. Make sure as well that you throw short to intermediate passes, screen game, and try to coax Arbuckle from not having to win it by himself. You know, the one stat that has been damning for Arbuckle in his career is turnover-worthy plays. He has too many of them. And my biggest concern, you guys, is you've seen a lot of Winnipeg this year. You can't get separation with your receivers against that secondary. They're like gnats on you. Brandon Alexander, Tyrell Ford, Evan Holm, Dietrich Nichols, they are phenomenal in that secondary. It's very difficult to get separation down the field and against them. And if Arbuckle's going to force throws with receivers that are going to have a hard time getting open, that's a recipe for potential disaster. But to your point, Gabe, I think it is an overreaction without Kelly. I get the sense this is a band together and try to win this one without your quarterback. The Argos really come in here, with a game plan and a business-like attitude. And I think they've played Winnipeg tough this year. I know different circumstances, but don't ignore the fact that the 2 Argo Bomber games were close games. And in fact, Toronto won both of them.
Yeah,
so I think it's a closer game than people think.
But Gabe brought up a good point. I think the Matt Stafford game applies to this game. Winnipeg is better than Toronto, and they have the lead. And I'm going to tell you, Arbuckle might make mistakes, but he's going to be chucking it all over the lot, Gabe. And I know you're one of those guys that like live betting numbers for Arbuckle, but his passing, it could be too low. Because if Winnipeg gets up there, he's going to have to go to Moxie. He's going to have to take some shots. And that receiver's been awesome for Toronto. You know what I'm saying, Gabe? Have you seen this Moxie guy? He's unreal. Like he's on fire. And I'm going to tell you, Arbuckle, sure, he'll throw a pick in this. I'll bet that. But he can also hit a long bomb. That's one thing that Nick Arbuckle could do. And let's give him credit. The guy can get laid out, but he comes back for more. He's a tough kid. He'll make some mistakes, but I think his passing yards is too low.
The Argos defense, to me, that's the big key for this team. Their defense isn't very good, right? Let's just call it out for what it is. You could throw the ball on the Toronto Argonauts. So
they give up yards.
They're gonna
force turnovers.
Yeah.
They do force turnovers.
You're right. It's that's their bend but don't break. That's what they want to do, but they still give up a lot of points. Let's be real. Mm-hmm. So we've seen Winnipeg not choke in the past, but play tight in the past in these games, right? It was a close game against Montreal. It was a close game against Toronto. Like you said, Babano, they ended up losing the game late, like in both games, basically on the last play. So they haven't blown teams out. They seem to have a different edge to them this year. But the Argos, and I believe it, like Dinwiddie said today, he said, we like being the underdogs. We relish it. Mm-hmm. And they know they're underdogs. They know what the point spread is. They also know no one believed in them 2 years ago when they beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Argos wide receivers are really physical, too. So I think that's going to be a fun battle. Big key, too, guys. The Argos special teams is really good.
Oh, Brad?
Like they create big plays on special teams.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long. People, what in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take the room.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheeks as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, Sirius XM Channel 159, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. Seems like a couple of nights a week we're live and the USC Trojan basketball team is playing. And they're big favorites, and it seems like they're always in close games, even though they're big favorites. Once again, here, they're up 29-26. We have a high-scoring game going on in L.A. right now, 29-26. 9 minutes left in the first half, but UT Arlington are still getting 16.5. In this game. I think the point spread is a little bit high. USC are overpriced. San Francisco are drilling Long Beach right now, 54-35. Santa Barbara up 59-53 on Fresno. NBA 75-68 Kings. They were laying 8.5. They're currently laying 7.5. The T-Wolves, like I said, the Blazers are a scrappy home team. They're getting 6.5, and that's what I'm going to jump in now. Looking for some late-night action here. I'm going to jump in on the Portland Trailblazers. They're down 3. They're getting 6.5 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter of play. And the Grizzlies, who I like but I got scared of, they're up by 5 now. The Lakers blew the lead. The Lakers were up big early, but the Grizzlies have stormed back 72-68 right now early in the third quarter of play. In-game total, 244.5. Got a track meet going on there.
Guys, let's remember this and put it on a loop. It's been happening for the last 2 years in the NBA. Star player is out. Line goes, take the backups. It's just one of the, and I don't know what's going on with Gabe. In the NBA, like when Morant and all these other guys, we did it last year. We're getting like 13.5 instead of like 7. And boom, we're winning outright. Like this has been going on, not for a short period of time. You bet on teams that grind when their star player is out. And a lot of the time, the star player takes too many shots or hogs the ball, and they become a team. It's one of those things that I really like to do, and I like your Portland pick, by the way.
It doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. But
it works a lot.
I'd rather have the player than not.
It works a lot.
Yeah, it works usually in the first game after a big player gets hurt, and then it starts to catch up after. You know what I mean? Like it'll the first couple of games, maybe you get a little bit of a spark, but it starts to catch up to teams after without the players. The Pelicans are a good example of it. Okay, so back to the Grey Cup, but I did take the Blazers plus 6.5. So yeah, back to the Grey Cup. The Toronto Argonauts, like I said, they're really good on special teams. So Grant can pop one for touchdowns. big punt returns. They often play with short fields. Their defense is pretty opportunistic at coming up with the turnovers, right? They'll get, like you said, they'll give up a ton of yards and stuff, but they'll hold you to a field goal. We saw that with the Alouettes a lot last weekend. Or they'll create a turnover in the red zone after. Winnipeg are the better football team, and Winnipeg are on a mission right now. The plays I put in, I already bet the over, and I took a teaser before the point spread went down anymore, but I did take the Argonauts plus 16, and I got over 44. So my best bet in this game, Urbano, is the over, personally. And it's up to 51 right now, but there's going to be points. The Argos, and another thing is, too, the Bombers have blown leads in the Grey Cups the last couple of years, right? They've not taken the pedal off the metal, but they haven't scored enough points. I think they'll be ruthless in this game, right? So if you like the Bombers, that's the plus side. Like, they won't let up. They're going to want to, like, put up 38, 40 points if they can and force Arbuckle to, like, beat them and really, really beat them. They don't want to play in a lower scoring game because anything can happen if it's like a 17-14 game or something. But I personally, Babano, think this game is going to be a track meet. Winnipeg probably outscore them. By how much? I'm undecided still, but I do know that this game is going over the number.
Yeah, I'm a little bit less confident on that, and I've been on a lot of Argos overs, but I'm worried if Arbuckle and the offense are going to move it. I do think Winnipeg will score some. You might get defensive scores, though, and that's definitely something that can help you. And you do have good kick returners, especially Toronto with Janneri and Grant, that can at least give Arbuckle and the offense a chance to start their possessions on a short field. And that's certainly going to help their cause as well.
Who's Winnipeg?
So
Lucky Whitehead? Lucky Whitehead? He's their guy?
Yes.
Lucky
for Winnipeg.
Yeah. So, but Grant is the best. Like this game, you Babano, we see this guy like
I like Lucky Whitehead,
game.
but he's just there not to fumble the ball, which he actually did last week. But like he does
that though.
Yeah, like he's sort of like, all right, let's put Lucky Whitehead back there, and he's probably not going to return it, but nothing bad will happen. But no, the special teams and the listen, both field goal kickers are really good too. So it's another reason why the over is going to be a nice play. But, guys, the Toronto Argonauts. Now, listen, it's flip side. Both of you could make the argument. But the Toronto Argonauts have played 20 games now this year. 14 of them have gone over, right? They're 14-6 to the over. And Chad Kelly didn't play for more than half the season. So that's another thing, too. This whole Chad Kelly's not there. Whatever, dude. The guy was back for the last month only. Yeah, he's good, but
we're indoors too. BC Place Stadium, no weather issues.
Yeah, and Kadeem Carey's a good back. And another thing is Dinwiddie's a good play caller, right? So they're gonna have quick hits, screen plays. They'll try to, it is true. Arbuckle, when he starts to throw it down the field, balls start to sail and drift towards the other team sometimes. But I think Dinwiddie knows him pretty well. And for a 60-minute game can sort of like rein in some of the faulty issues that he has. But look, guys, the Argos, even if you look at the Argos defense, they won last week. They gave up 28 points. They hung 58 on Ottawa. Yeah, they gave up 38 against Ottawa. They played the Edmonton Elks. They gave up 31. They beat Ottawa in the regular season, second to last game. They gave up 31. They played a 14-11 game against Winnipeg. And if you remember that game, Winnipeg didn't care about the game, and it was one of those just weird backup type of games that was 14-11. The week before that, they beat Montreal 37-31, so they gave up 31 points. The week before that, they lost that to Hamilton. They gave up 33 points. You notice the theme here, Kim. The Argo defense, bro, has given up 31 or more points, basically, in 6 of their last 7 games. That's why they're 14-6 to the over. They're an over team.
You're damn right they're an over team. And I'll tell you guys another thing. I rarely do this, like almost double digits half. But there's so many things that I look at Winnipeg. Disappointments in Grey Cups past. Ready for it. Getting better every week. The receivers, Wolodarski, Dembski, all these other guys, they don't fumble. Oliveira, like all their guys are very crisp, sound players. Montreal could have put way more points on the board. Cole Speaker's like, I don't know what happened to that guy. He's amazing. He fumbled. Like Montreal killed themselves with turnovers.
I'll tell you what happened, Cam. They looked like a team that didn't compete. Like they turned the switch off for like the last 6 weeks. And then suddenly they were playing for real again, and suddenly they were dropping the ball, they were jumping offside, they were sloppy, right? You could tell.
Winnipeg's not a sloppy team, though. And those mistakes that Montreal made, Winnipeg won't make. And this line, I got to give the books credit. It's a perfect line to get Argo money. Gabe, you know me. I love dogs. I think Winnipeg wins this game by 13 to 16 points.
Babano, what's your prediction?
Well, I'll go 27-20 Winnipeg. And it stays under, but barely.
Wow, Babano.
27-20 Winnipeg. So that's a Toronto cover.
Yeah, what's going on? Babano's with the Jonas Brothers here, man. Under on the halftime set. Holy jeez.
Well, he just ripped the Argos. He doesn't have any faith in Arbuckle, but now you're saying it's a 7-point game. So
I
you're
worry
taking the
Toronto's
Argos.
going to run it a lot, long drives, but it could get crazy. If you could get turnovers, you could get short fields, kick return touchdowns. That's going to help your cause if you like the over. I just don't love the over as much as the last two Toronto games.
Gabe, I know you like the teasers and stuff like that. I would say there's a better chance of Winnipeg blowing them out than Toronto. Like, Toronto might cover a huge teaser at 16.5, but now you're getting a teaser with Winnipeg at like 2.5. That's pretty damn good.
That's true. Yeah. I could, you know what, now down to down 2, I might just play them -2 to the over as well, to the over 44. I just sort of needed to, because that's a big neighborhood to middle a game.
Yep.
Between -2 and +16, right? I'm getting a big territory here, but you guys seem to be forgetting, and I know as someone who's been live to a million Grey Cups, Grey Cup games for the most part are always close.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheeks? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. If you look at the Grey Cup and the history of the Grey Cup, and as I stated, it's an underdog game. It's always a close game. And I'm going to go back just 10 years here. So this is to 2014. 2016 final score. 26-20 final score. 39-33. 27-24. 27-16. 33-12. And now the last three Grey Cups, and we should note the Bombers have been in the last four of them. So this is their fifth in a row. really, if you look back in history, kind of the Ticats are the only ones that have been lit up in recent memory. No, I'm not. That's true. No, but it's no. But look, they lost the 2 years ago. They lost by 8. That's not that bad. But look, the last Grey Cup last year, guys, Montreal won 28-24. The year before that, Toronto beat Winnipeg 24-23. The year before that, in Hamilton, Winnipeg beat them 33-25. It was a pretty close game. There was no Grey Cup the year before due to COVID. The one before that in 2019, that was the blowout one, 33-12. Calgary beat Ottawa 27-16 in 2018. But, Toronto, Calgary 27-24. Ottawa, Calgary 39-33. Edmonton, Ottawa 26-20. Calgary, Hamilton 2016. We've had a lot of close games, right? Like in the Grey Cup. And especially like the Bombers. All right, so put it this way, guys. The Bombers have been in 4 straight Grey Cup games, guys, and they won once by more than 8 points. And they lost twice outright. Right, so, they won it and all this, and I totally agree. The Bombers have a different edge to them. Their legacy kind of is on the line a bit. You know what I mean? There's a big difference between being 2-3 in championship games and 3-2 and getting that third championship. I don't dispute that, but let's not forget the Argonauts have players that care too, right, Babano?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
They do. They do.
Ryan did when he already beat Mike O'Shea. And Ryan Diddy's played as a quarterback in the Grey Cup. He's won. I was at that game when he was the quarterback of Winnipeg, ironically enough. He was the backup, and he had to play in the Grey Cup. So he knows all about, the same role that Arbuckle is in, which is an interesting angle here. I'm going to say that Winnipeg, I'll give a final score later on Friday, but I'll say that I think Winnipeg will win the game. But I think it's going to be like one of these sort of classic type of oh, my God, I can't believe what just happened in the last 3-minute type of games. I think they're going to give Winnipeg all that they can handle. I'm going to say the final score, 31-29 or something, 31-28, in that range. I think they get into the 50s, Cam, high 50s.
Better be 38, Morency, for that teaser, because it's going to be at 2.5. I just want to say one thing about Winnipeg.
I'm saying I'd rather the 16 on the teaser. I'm on team 16, not team -2.
I would do both. But anyway, here's the deal. Winnipeg in those years, and you guys, we know the CFL. They were the team coming out of the gate, blowing out everybody. It's a totally different narrative this year. They were horrible at the start of the year, and they built it and built it and built it and built it. You saw what they did. Saskatchewan, that's the thing about Winnipeg now. They look like a different team. Before, they didn't have that edge because they were so good in the regular season. Now they actually had to build towards something. And I think that's very, very valuable. I'm not going to say they're going to win by 10 or more points, but I think they're a better team than Toronto. I think they'll make less mistakes than Toronto. I think they win, as I told you, 13-16, Morency. I think that teaser will cover, but I'm on the Bombers. I'm living in Toronto, but I just think Toronto is still battle, but Winnipeg's just a better team. That's my opinion.
Negative Argo fans coming at you online. You suck.
Oh, yeah. I got enough for Damn, you're a jerk.
You don't even support the Argos. I'm going to tell people. And on top of it, he doesn't even cheer for the hometown Argos.
I don't care. I cheer for, in my CFL, I'm like those guys who wear different jerseys to different stadiums. Show me the damn money. Actually, you know what, Babano, your Ticat fans were nice to me. I actually enjoyed them.
Well, Babano hates the Argos. He doesn't want the Argos to win. You don't want to watch the Argos win the Grey Cup.
He thinks they're going to win by 7, though. So his teaser to the under is what seems to be, and other things is where Hairdo's doing. But by the way, Babano, I want me and Gabe talked about it. You got to bring back your referee hair. This hair's too good. Bring back the slick, the bookie look, where you meet the guy in the rink at the envelope.
Long again, we'll make it. We'll call it a comeback.
You better bring it back. Bring it back. Just saying.
So Zach Caleros is 260. The props up 260.5 passing yards for Zach Caleros. Nick Arbuckle over under 254.5 passing yards. Dembski is 53.5 yards. Kenny Lawler 76.5 yards. Ontario Wilson is 53.5 yards. Devarius Daniels 54.5. DeMonte Coxey is 48.5. Mackay Polk is 73.5. I'm going to have to look back. I'm going to dig in and look at Arbuckle's games and see who he's had a connection with more than others. But obviously a big key to the game for both teams, players to the game. And I don't have a problem with betting both the over of both these guys. Brady Oliviero over 69.5 rush yards and Kadeem Carey over 69.5 rush yards. They're both going to get the ball a lot.
Great call, Gabe. And we remember our old friend Kramer, who did the CFL stuff. We talked about it today, and I was doing a show where he gave out some props and things like that. And I will say that is one of his favorite with the Winnipeg running back. He thinks Carey will do his thing. Interesting pick he had, though. Daniels receiver for Toronto under, because other guys have stepped up. As we talked about, Moxie's been an absolute beast for the Argos recently. They're going to him a lot.
Like I said, I'm going to look up and look at Arbuckle starts and see who he's had the connection with. Look, he's the backup, so he'll have a connection with one of the lower tier guys, right? That don't get the ball as much. Yet, the props are kind of limited for this. They don't have the touchdown numbers up yet. That'll be up, and we'll definitely hit the touchdown props. I'll be at the game. I'll post some videos from the game. I got to figure out,
your
too.
BC Lions gear? Because that's what you do at the Grey Cup. It's cool.
No, I was thinking about that. I'm going to have money on the Raptors. What am I going to do? Wear a Leaf jersey?
No, don't wear a Leaf jersey. But you represent the Lions. And they're not like that's the CFL way. Right, Hamilton?
They did last year.
You'll be wearing a Ticats jersey in BC. I know you would. You got to do it.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. That's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
So Cam Stewart says I got to wear the BC Lion gear.
Yeah,
at the Grey Cup. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to rep your team at the Grey Cup no matter what. But you know what? I'm not in the mood to be waiting in line for a drink. I don't want to hear any chirping from Bomber fans.
Yeah,
it's going to upset me. Yeah, where Lions aren't playing. It's in the Lions building too, Cam. You know what I mean? It's just sort of it's rubbing me the wrong way in a lot of ways.
You're right.
I actually liked the Argos though. You know what I mean? I do. When I lived in
don't mind
Toronto,
either.
I was a big supporter of the Argos. I went to a lot of their games. I lived in Liberty Village, right near their stadium. So I went a lot. Like I used to go to Alone a lot on Saturday afternoons.
Beautiful stadium. It's gorgeous when it's a nice day out there. It's Gabe, I remember this. Devon Claybrook's former BC Lions coach knows Darsh. So I lost some weight and his stuff kind of fits me now, right? So I go to do this thing and it was all Bombers fans and like these guys like me and they're like, oh, BC, I hate that. And I'm like, holy geez, it's just the BC Lions. Like I thought you guys hated Saskatchewan more. Like the CFL is weird, like
BC and Saskatchewan, BC and Winnipeg is a rivalry. It's like BC and Saskatchewan too, but yeah, it's real. We'll see. For me though, it's just all right. You know, I'm going to go big since I'm going to the game. I'll make it a memory and try to cash in large on it. I'm going to tap myself out though. I was thinking because I already have I'm already up to 720. So we put 720 on the game so far. I'm going to budget myself, Cam, at 2,500. That's the
I'm
cap.
going to say this.
2,500 on the Grey Cup. I paid $200 for the ticket. So this isn't like the Dodgers where I spent $1,300 ticket. Where I was like, well, I got to bet 2,000 on a game because I bet $1,300 on a ticket. I only paid $200 for the ticket. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I'll bet like $2, 2,500 on the game, and if I win, it'll be a good time leaving the stadium after. And I even
think about this.
Our boy Jazz out there doesn't believe I'm going to do it. He thinks I'm going to be too lit up. I said, you know what? Maybe after the BC, after the game at BC plays the Grey Cup, the Canucks are playing the Sharks on Sunday night at 7:00 local time. Wow. The stadiums are right beside each other, so I could just leave the Grey Cup and go to the hockey game after if I wanted to. After, but
I will make
I think
a
I'm going to
public
have to
service
bet
announcement.
Jazz. They'll pay for my ticket.
Bet 'em. Yeah, I like your style now. Bet people, pay for myself. I will say this. Remember before you had this streak where it's like, oh, I go to the game. Think about this, man. You were at the game where Freddie Freeman hit a grand slam home run to win the Dodgers, the over, everything on one swing of the bat. These games recently, you've been doing
then I was
like
at the
you're
Bills
winning.
48 hours later, and the Bills won easily.
Oh, they murdered my Seahawks. We looked like a wounded bad bird. The Bills just ran all over the Seahawks like a bunch of losers. I'm going to tell you, you've been winning recently, so you know what? You better tell these guys, like, I'm ready to bet. And, maybe you'll get another.
And I'm betting on the over. That's the thing. You know what? I'm going to the game, and I'm just going to be standing there, drinking, cheering for both teams to score. I don't care how. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be cheering every time. Pick six, yay, for one team. Punt return for the other team. Yeah, let's go.
Yay. Babano,
I mean?
I'm surprised, Babano. You're an over guy. I know who you are. I am really shocked that you're taking the under. Why?
I'm not betting the under. I said I'm leaning. I'd never bet the under. But I would.
You just said 27-20.
27-20 is the under. Is it
I do.
not,
I'm worried about Arbuckle moving the ball up and down, and they're going to run the ball. I think a lot. Time off the clock. I'm a little concerned about this. Look, with Chad
Arbuckle
Kelly
number one
in this
will be
game,
fine.
I am on the over for sure.
Arbuckle will be fine. And number two,
Arbuckle so hard, Gabe. You're like, this guy throws so many picks. It's like he's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the thing is,
no,
but the thing is, I sort of look at it like Daniel Jones before. Daniel Jones, you said the Giants were a good over because they'll either score or he'll turn it over and put the other team in good field position. So that's the way I look at this with Arbuckle. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a pick six.
Past the over, there is no doubt, and you don't need a plethora
and also,
of offense. You can get turnovers and kick returns, which are capable. Both guys are. Grant
the Argos,
and,
they're not going to quit if they're down either. It's a championship game, right? So they're going. It's always going to be. You know, I mean, they're going to push. The total's going to go up too. I'm telling you, it's 51. It won't go back down. All right, but what's your pick for tomorrow night? The Bengals and the Commanders. Bengals and Chargers Sunday night. The Commanders and Eagles tomorrow.
Look, I know there's some injuries. Philly looks like they're going to be really healthy. Washington, their schedule's gotten tougher. They couldn't beat Pittsburgh, but I'm taking the +3.5 here with Washington. They've given Philly some trouble over the years, and this is the best Washington team yet.
What's your pick, Cam?
I want to take Washington, but the gazoo on my shoulder says Philly's going to win this game by 4.
I'm leaning with the Eagles as well. I think the game goes over the number. Other than that, you're on your own. We'll be on live for the game. Later.